we're here to discuss The Eternals, which is the new film by Chloe Zhao.
Yeah.
She won an Oscar. She won Oscar for Best Director.
For Nomadland, which also won for Best Picture and Best Actress for Frances McDormand.
Wow. And she made this movie.
What's this even made of? Vibranium?
I really dislike. It's my least favorite of the MCU. Granted, I haven't seen.
It's really bad.
Captain Marvel.
It's like really boring and contrived and just corporate. It's so bad. It is one of the worst MCU movies purely based on the length of the film. It's almost 2 hours and it's like almost 3 hours long. It's like 2.5 hours or something like that, right?
Yeah, it's the second longest besides Endgame.
Yeah, it's longer than Infinity War. It's longer than
Yeah.
most of the Marvel movies. It doesn't need to be. Most of what they're throwing in there is filler. There's too many characters. It's really dark, and like I really noticed that watching it on the TV this time. It's a really dark film in terms of just like the cinematography. Like the lighting is way too dark. You can't even see most of the things. And maybe it's trying to hide the visual effects, which aren't great. I don't know how you make something like this after like being a Best Picture winner
Well, an example we were thinking of was
or Best
Ang
Director
Lee.
winner.
Granted, this was
Yeah,
before
Ang
he
Lee.
won an Oscar. He did Hulk, which you've seen. I haven't.
Yeah.
And he's a great director. He's made Brokeback Mountain and
Yeah.
Crouching Tiger.
Just
Hidden
because
Dragon.
you can make like I guess that's the moral of this. Like just because you make like a great Oscar movie or a great art house indie film does not mean you can direct a film that's like a Marvel film or like a big budget multi-million-dollar movie. I think of Sam Raimi as someone who can really like make a good AAA or like a film, that you'd see in theaters. It's like a superhero kind of thing.
True, and
Or Chris Nolan, I said too. Even Taika Waititi with Thor 3. Like that was more interesting than anything they did with Thor 2, especially. That movie sucks. That's what other people say is like the worst MCU movie, and I think it's like about neck and neck with Eternals at this point. It's like really
I think Eternals is weaker. One of the reasons is I think it's about like 45 minutes longer, so it doesn't help.
Yeah.
If it's just like more of a slog to sit through.
Exactly. If Thor 2 is really weak, but this movie's much longer. I think that's like a critical thing against it.
Yeah.
It does not need to be over 2 hours, really. It didn't even really need to be made because no one gives a shit about these characters. It's not like an important.
They're very obscure. Granted, I think the Guardians of the Galaxy were pretty obscure before the movies, but those turned out pretty well. They're much more entertaining.
They exist because they look good on a poster. I mean, that's why the movie exists. It's 'cause,
Right,
like,
but I
they got
hadn't
like a
heard of
cast
it,
together that's diverse, and they're like, the Eternals really pushed this movie,
Yeah.
and they really did push it. It was a lot of not a lot of trailers, but we saw the trailer a lot because I think you and I go to the theater a lot.
Yeah,
like,
I got at least
separately
7 or 8 times.
you go on your own in Boston,
yeah.
and I go on my own, and we both have seen the Eternals trailer total like 10 times or something like that. The IKEA joke when he smashes the table. I've seen that too many times. Like when it's in the movie, it's not funny at all because it's just like I've seen it a million times at this point. Yeah.
Right, and
they were really pushing it.
yeah, one of the flaws, it does get really overcomplicated just by comparison. The first of the Avengers movies, I think there's 6 Avengers plus Nick Fury. They're all almost all characters we had seen in prior movies, so they had some development.
6.
We could
Black
tell
Widow, Hulk, Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Sam Jackson,
and Hawkeye.
Yeah. So 7. Yeah. There's nothing.
And all those,
and they're pretty well balanced, I thought, in that film.
Yeah.
And I think 7 characters is hard. Like I was really and a villain, Loki too, who's a good villain.
Before.
All that was balanced. Sure, we knew all the characters before, most of them. I don't think we knew Hawkeye before.
He was in Thor very briefly.
Very briefly, yeah.
Yeah.
We barely saw him. But yeah, it was cool to see it like all come together in that film at least. Like you'd seen the people before, and in this film it just has no impact when these people show up because you don't know them.
No,
and the movie doesn't do a good job developing. And yeah, there are 10 of them, and they're so different. They're all crazy different. Like they were talking. Who's the gay black man?
Fast. So it's Brian Tyree Henry.
They literally
who's on
developed like the
Atlanta.
fact that he's a gay man like an hour and a half into the film. Like it just pops up. Oh, he's got a son and he's got a husband and he's kissing his husband. But like this is an hour and a half in the movie. Like
Right.
like-
it feels very episodic in that.
yeah,
sense.
it's like we need to
Yeah.
get the story moving. Like we stop to develop this character, like because we don't really know him at that point because the movie's
No.
focused on like a million other fucking things going on, and
Yeah.
it's like okay, so you just put that at the beginning or like something. Like all the development for every character, it's really bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like Cersei is a teacher. Why? Because she is. And it doesn't serve any purpose in the plot. It's just she needed something to do in between the time of I don't know ancient Babylonia or wherever the
A lot
fuck
of
they
time
were.
to kill.
Yeah, Mesopotamia. I don't even know. Like really far in the past, like thousands of years. Yeah. And then like now she's a teacher. And then what was the other? One of them was a Bollywood actor.
Yeah, Kamel and Johnny and
Yeah. And you pointed out it's like this is my grandfather. This is my father. They're all
Right.
actors. And they all look exactly the same because it's him. Like he doesn't age.
yeah,
But
exactly.
it's like really no one would notice that. Like it doesn't make sense. Like and you were pointing out the language, especially like the flashback sequences. They talk like modern day people.
It's very strange. I think at one point the character used the word "okay,"
Yeah,
which
they
has
say
only been
okay.
around 100 or so years.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It doesn't make sense, and there's most things like that. The flashbacks of this film were like I guess the non chronological order of it, like it's Pulp Fiction or something.
Yeah,
That's one of the worst things about it.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't like flow well, and it's flashing back way too far in the past.
Literally thousands of years.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean anything because so it's like okay, it's trying to put you in the perspective of the Eternals where thousands of years is nothing to them maybe, but that is a completely unrelatable thing for a character. It makes me not connect with the character because I don't live thousands of years. No one
Not
does.
yet, yeah.
No one has ever lived thousands. Yeah, so it's like okay, so you have like these godlike beings, like it's Superman or something. She mentioned her Man of Steel influence. Yeah, it's like all these god people, and they just exist, and it's like about their drama, but it's not that interesting. It almost reminded me of Clash of the Titans, or one of those kinds of stories about the Athenian gods, or something like
Greek
Zeus,
gods.
the Greek gods, yeah, and how they would like bicker with each other, even though they're gods, they still have like their little petty. Maybe that's like what they're going for here, like developing these godlike creatures in the Marvel universe. But the appeal of the Marvel universe, anyway, is that you relate to the guys a lot. Like you relate to Spider-Man because he's a guy from Queens. That's why I love Spider-Man, because it's very similar to me. Or like Iron Man, he's a very believable guy. Like he's a superhero, but his superpower is that he has a shit ton of money and he built all that stuff. He's like an Elon Musk or something like that. Like that kind of character. Like it's very at least believable in like our modern day world, and it's like fleshed out. Like that's why they pick all these characters. Captain America's got something to him. Yeah, like none of these characters are interesting. They're all gods. They can't die really. They don't have emotions. They live thousands of years. They're not relatable in any way.
No, and it's missing.
And the acting's terrible. That too.
Sure.
But we get the act. But like just the writing, like just the story, like it's so bad, the story, and it doesn't make any sense. And it just felt like someone who directed this film like never had seen a Marvel film. That's how I felt. It just felt like someone who like didn't even care about like the brand or like the universe or anything. So, like I'm just gonna do my own thing, which maybe could be good, but not in this case. I don't think it worked.
Nah, it's too all over the place. And you mentioned Superman, at least by comparison with, the 1978 Richard Donner movie. There are enough shades of the character. Once he gets to Earth, you see him living with his family in Smallville, then you see him as Clark Kent. And you relate, and then again as Superman, but you relate to him enough because of his relationships to Lois Lane. And you get enough characterization, even though he is essentially
You can relate
a god.
to like Chris Nolan movies too. Like those
with
movies
Batman.
stand on their own.
He's talking about Batman.
Yeah, those movies stand on their own. The Dark Knight films, like they don't need to be connected to anything, and I like them, but they do work on their own. Like I don't think those would work as part of a universe or whatever.
Because there's so much going on within this. Yeah, it would be too hard to connect. It would be just overstuffed if you're trying to connect it to other movies.
This movie didn't set up anything either. I thought was interesting. Like there's no cameos from other guys.
Well, there's Blade at the end. I didn't even know that was.
Yeah, Blade's
supposed to
not
be
in
him.
anything yet though. And you don't see him. It's Mahershala
Mahershala
Ali,
Ali.
but you don't see him. He's just like the
Hear his
voice
voice.
because they don't have a costume or anything ready for him yet, probably. So they just wanted to throw him in there because they're like, this movie's so boring. It doesn't set up anything. What does it set up before? A leprechaun and fucking Harry Styles?
Behold, brother of Thanos, Star Fox of Mystery Planet.
What a pleasure to make your acquaintance, my fellow Eternals.
That was a terrible fucking after credit scene. Like the CGI on the troll.
Played by Patton Oswalt.
Whatever that was. Yeah, you were like, Ratatouille was better.
Of course it is.
Fucking crap. Like, it's so bad. It's so lame. Like, this is not what I fucking want to see in this kind of thing.
No, and I should mention, when I saw this in the theater, the crowd didn't really dig it, and I saw my friend Vishnu, and he said the most entertaining part was hearing this guy's Scooby-Doo ringtone keep going off. Because it wasn't like the movie itself was very engaging.
Yeah.
In the 5th century BC? How long were you two together?
5,000 years.
I guess you can call that long term.
Some scenes, not every scene, it would alternate between, 2 by 39 and then 1 by 90, I guess, which is IMAX.
Take your word for
and
it.
2 by 39 is like that letterboxed one. But like, it was distracting for the most part. Not that I hate it. Like, that, there's far many other things wrong with the movie aside from that. I just thought like the movie looked pretty bad. Really dark and flat. Lighting was like whatever. Even scenes that were in the daytime were dark. Like that whole forest scene in the middle, it's like an action sequence. It's too dark. Like you can't fucking see anything. And like streaming it, we had some issues streaming it. Like the first time I tried watching it from my TV. It's like Disney Plus on my TV because it's a smart TV, and the movie looked like garbage. I don't know what happened. It looked like there was this echo around people when they moved quickly. It like ruined action scenes. It made it too dark. So then I switched it to my PlayStation 5, and even then, like, I was having issues watching the movie. Like, it was still jittery, and I don't think the quality was that great. Like, it looks better on a Blu-ray.
Probably.
Like, it's all, like, this IMAX enhanced whatever. Like, it says that on the page for Disney Plus. It's like the movie looks like trash.
It's not the flex they think it is.
It looks terrible. I couldn't believe how bad it looked.
And you mentioned the action scene in the forest. Right, you're right. You can barely discern what's happening.
The whole movie looks terrible. It's a lot of the movie takes place at night, or it's dark, or dusk. Yeah, it's like very dark, moody lighting.
The sphere that Ajax used to talk with Arisham, it came out of her body and went inside me.
Did you talk with Arisham?
It's so hard to remember these names.
Arisham.
That effect looked cool. It was one of the better effects in the movie.
If there's anything good about the movie, some of the effect shots were pretty good of them in space. Not all of them. Some
Not all
look
of
bad.
them. Angelina Jolie's character, which it is odd how...
Yeah, you want to go through all the characters.
She's not even the lead, like, you know, and she's probably the biggest star.
Yeah.
I guess her and Salma Hayek.
She should have been
are
in the
biggest
film
names.
much more, yeah. Salma Hayek's barely in the fucking movie. She dies about 20 minutes into the movie, 25 minutes in. Something
and then
like
they
that.
cut back, but even still, she's not really in it much.
It looks terrible. Like that scene. Again, it's too dark. It's just like a body on the floor. You're like, who is that? Oh, it's her.
Found her on the ground
She's just
in
on
South
the fucking
Dakota.
floor. Yeah.
Yeah, and they use title
so
cards.
Stupid.
The use of the title cards feels sort of arbitrary. I don't even know if they always use them.
They use them for location sometimes.
As in,
sometimes
like
they don't.
present day South Dakota.
Yeah. The transitions are terrible. There's one in particular. It's like about, I have it written down. I think it's 20 minutes into the movie or something like that, where it's like you can't even tell like it's a flashback.
Right. It's
you
confusing.
think, you just think they're flashing to someone else. Like, oh, this is what these other team members are doing. Meanwhile,
right. Then you
but
see the same
it's actually
characters.
a flashback. Yeah. And you're like, oh, this is like ancient times again, or whatever the hell they were trying to do there. So it must be a flashback. But they didn't. There was no time. Maybe they wanted it to be jarring, but I don't know why they would be.
We like to confuse.
It's just
audiences.
transitioning into an action scene. Yeah, this is like, can something happen here? Like, can you throw in some action? Like a producer kept doing that. Like, there's this scene where they're on the way to the whoever's cave, Makari's cave or whatever.
Yeah.
and they like stop on a bag of chips.
Yeah.
And Athena stamps on a bag of chips, and he's holding the camera. It's like found footage. That scene feels so thrown in.
Yeah.
Because like, oh, we need a scene that's like funny. Like we need a scene that has jokes in it. Because this movie's so dry.
It's very dry. The comedy is very weak.
The comedy's weak, yeah, because it's thrown in. Because most of the movie's really drab and boring.
Yeah, and that's not really that isn't usually an issue in these movies. Usually, I think they have like at least a couple decent jokes.
Yeah, the jokes add to like the relatability of the characters, I think.
Yeah, they're quippy.
Yeah, you're like, oh, this guy's funny. I like him, or I like her, as I like this character. The characters in this movie, they're all like, oh,
Very stoic.
Gilgamesh dies, and Athena, she's crying, but if
Right,
you,
it's not like
someone for 1,000 years or whatever.
You'd be fucking a wreck.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know anyone who's lived 1,000 years. I don't understand that.
I've known you 6 years. It's not 6,000.
It doesn't
quite
make
yet.
sense.
Yeah.
Well, in Interstellar, time flashes forward really quickly.
Right.
That's actually part of the plot.
They used it pretty well.
And it's
yeah.
it's a human perspective. You see it through the eyes of Matthew McConaughey. It makes sense.
It was whatever 20 years or however.
Yeah, it was
long.
20 years.
Yeah,
It wasn't. But yeah, it's like a long. Well, it was 1,000. Yeah.
Right.
But it's like
sure.
It's an unreasonable amount of time for a human being to fathom. Like that's the point of like that scene. It's
Right.
like he went on a planet or whatever for maybe an hour. Whatever happens there. I don't want to spoil Interstellar. But yeah, it's just like a much better movie. Like it's just all set up better and it's more interesting. Like the characters in this movie, it all comes back to them. They're not relatable. They're not good.
No.
They're not likable. I don't like them. I like Spider-Man. I like all these people or whatever.
Right, we like Captain America, like Thor.
Root for Captain America or Thor. Yeah, maybe not Thor at first. Thor at first is really boring. It has kind of the same problem as this movie.
But like I think
they
Chris
started-
Hemsworth, helped.
One is the
develop
actor.
the
Yeah,
character.
Chris Hemsworth definitely a good actor, so he elevated that character. And yeah, they started making Thor like a little funnier.
Yeah.
He works well with the Avengers. He works in Thor Ragnarok. That's when
Right.
it was good. Yeah, it falls apart like when he's on his own in like Thor 2. Or like Loki's good. Loki's
Yeah.
good in all of them. That's why he got his own show.
Right, he's mischievous.
Well,
Yeah.
every other Marvel property is just so much more interesting than like this and like the characters in this movie. Like the acting, the actors, and the acting in general is terrible in this movie. It's really fucking bad.
Yeah, it's weak.
Like awful. Cersei was really bad.
And there's a character named Sprite who's obviously not like a child, but she looks.
I think the actor's young. I think the actor.
No. I just mean like within the story.
Oh,
Obviously, she's
yeah.
like thousands of years old, but
Yeah.
she only looks like whatever.
They're
15.
they're all been conscious for thousands of years. So she looks like a kid, and she wants to like have a
Grow up.
relationship. Yeah, grow up. Yeah,
Yeah.
so she like disguises herself. That's her power. That's Sprite's power. She like mimics things. She makes herself look like a 27-year-old or whatever, like woman. She makes herself look like a grown woman.
Yeah, and she likes the Richard Madden character Icarus.
Yeah, that's like a whole thing.
Who's
Was that
married-
in, like the comics?
I have no idea.
I don't even know.
I had never even heard of these characters.
Sprite is one of the
before.
worst parts of the movie. Like that character's terrible.
Right, she likes Icarus.
Doesn't make any sense.
Who's married to Cersei, who's in a relationship with Jon Snow. So it's like you said, it's like a love.
It's a love diamond
Two
because there's
triangles.
2 love triangles going on. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's Cersei, Kit Harington, and
Icarus
Icarus.
and Sprite.
Yeah, and then it's Sprite and Icarus and Cersei. Yeah, I guess she talks to Arishem, so that makes her special, and so does Selma Hayek. But that's it. Like that's the only thing that makes her like the main Eternal, I guess.
Makari's like Dash. She's really fast.
Yeah, that's her thing. She's really fast. Yeah.
And I don't even know what is Barry Keegan's character. What does he do?
Oh yeah, he controls people's minds. Remember?
Oh yes.
Because like there's scenes where people are fighting and he like mind controls them to make them hug or like do stupid shit. I hated those scenes. They're very corny and not funny. Like definitely wasn't funny. That was
No.
an attempt to like comedic like levity, but it's really stupid.
Yeah. He's snoring.
Like yeah, I don't know if they can hear it. He's knocked out.
Yeah. And then just for another compare, you mentioned Lord of the Rings. Like with Fellowship of the Ring, they're 9 characters, but they develop pretty well. I mean, you don't even meet like Legolas or Boromir like till halfway through the movie, or Gimli. But even then, they feel very distinctive, and you've already spent a lot of time with Frodo and Sam and Gandalf.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not the most fair comparison, but again, like it's not like by the end of the movie, like, oh, who's this guy, who's that guy? Like you know who everyone's about.
Those novels are great too. This is based on a bunch of crap. I don't even know what it's based on.
Random.
Yeah.
When were these characters
It's all about like
introduced?
the writing, I think. Like Lord of the Rings, those are great books.
Oh yeah.
They've definitely adapted them well. This I don't know anything about the Eternals. Anything. I don't know anyone who likes them or was excited for this movie. They just made them because I guess it looks good for a poster, because it looks good for the company.
Yeah.
That's why they advertised the same exact trailer 100 times.
Right, there were no, like, as far as I know, that was like the only trailer.
Yeah, no,
I
multiple
saw.
trailers. Like, I don't think they pushed Spider-Man nearly as hard and it made more money.
They don't need to, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't need to, right?
And I get, like, at this point, this is like there are 27 of these movies now. Like, they're gonna get to more like lesser known characters. Like, even before, like, I was even like vaguely familiar with like Captain Marvel. Like at this point, they must be getting into like weird territory with like the protagonists they're picking. 'Cause obviously Iron Man is done, at least as far as we know. And
they're getting desperate now a little bit.
Yeah,
well, like,
Black Widow
even
got
some of
killed
the
off.
new characters they've been introducing are better than.
Yeah,
this
like
film.
even like Florence. I didn't love Black Widow. I liked Florence Pugh. Even like her.
That movie is bad. Shang-Chi was okay.
Like even those are
that was
better
okay.
than
I mean,
this.
that's probably like a 6 out of 10. Like it wasn't great. But
Yeah, decent.
Shang-Chi, it was fine. Like,
It was much
I didn't
easier to
mind
sit
one.
through than this.
Yeah. Well, Shang-Chi actually had a main character.
It did.
Unlike this film, which is a bunch of shit.
Yeah,
It's just a bunch of characters.
It had like some neat, martial arts fights, something a little distinctive. It was easy to you could see what was going on.
Yeah.
And I'd say like Black Widow. I like the Florence Pugh character probably more than any of the characters in this. At least she at least felt a little more.
I just
developed.
like Florence Pugh in general.
That helps too.
Yeah.
I like her.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, all the characters in this were definitely bad. Yeah, I didn't like any of them, and the actors didn't help with that.
No, and
Icarus,
he flew too close to the sun.
he flew too close to the sun. Yeah,
Got a little hologram.
and he like develops technology for mankind. Like he makes the engine or something, the steam engine.
Yeah.
I think there's a scene about that. And the point is like he develops mankind past the point where they can handle, and they make the bomb that like destroyed Hiroshima, and he goes there and he's like, oh, I did this to
Yeah, it's
and the acting's
baffling.
really hokey. Yeah,
I'm not really sure what the point of it was. Like, what is it becoming, like Grave of the Fireflies? Like, it doesn't really gel with
Yeah.
a superhero movie.
it's just very dark for no reason. And yeah, it didn't mesh with anything. And then the scene after is when they set up that he's like a gay man with a son. And
Yeah.
He's got a happy life, and he lives in a protected house that's protected by magic. Now he just uses his powers to protect his house.
Yeah. It seems
Because
like
Icarus shoots like a lightning bolt at like whatever. He shoots laser eyes at the window or whatever, and it like bounces off. And
Right.
Cersei's reaction. It's like the
Sturdy.
hokiest acting you've ever seen. Like, it's really gruesome for like a Marvel film. Just like people getting stabbed and like in the neck, and they fucking die, and they turn into rotten shrimp.
yeah,
They
two of them.
eternal gray.
I guess 3 of them die by the end of the movie. There's like no impact. Not
No,
really. For
no,
the audience.
yeah. You should like 3 characters died. Yeah, that should have been major. But yeah, I literally felt absolutely nothing for any of them.
Even Iron Man,
I don't
when
even remember half their names.
in Iron Man when he's trapped, held captive, and the guy's helping, and the guy dies before he can. Even I felt more for that character than any of these characters. At least I think even he was more well developed.
Yeah, There's no scenes where you like them, like where they even develop them correctly.
There was a bad line. I can't remember. I'm drawing a
lame.
blank on what it was, but there was like a particular bad line. And then later on, Cersei showing Icarus the old age app, like the one that, like puts a white
Oh
beard in it.
yeah,
That was
That
where the fuck
sucked.
did that come from?
That's probably the worst joke in the movie. I mean,
Yeah.
if you can even call it a joke, because it's just like a reference to Snapchat or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
it just puts like an old age filter.
Seeing as we don't age, I think they're quite good.
Like Selma Hayek is good, but I haven't seen her in something in forever. Last thing I saw her in was probably Grown Ups.
House of Gucci resistant.
Oh yeah, House of Gucci. That's right.
Mhm.
That's a fine movie.
Better than this.
It's better than this, that's for sure.
More
Yeah,
entertaining.
yeah, and like she's in the movie very briefly. I was expecting her to be in it a lot more. I'm like, really? She's dead? And yeah, she shows up a couple more times in flashbacks. And when Sprite tries to trick Cersei at the end with the stupid mimic trick.
Wasn't that like in Spaceballs? I felt like that was something similar.
Yeah, it's like, what's going on here? Like, what is this? Like, this like a vision all of a sudden.
Luke, don't give in to hate.
And then, yeah, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, Sprite was tricking you. Cersei should have been like, wait, aren't you dead? Right?
I saw your corpse.
Aren't you dead? Like, why are you here? It doesn't, the logic of it is very confusing.
Her character's name Ajax.
Ajax. The names are so bad.
They are bad.
The movie, it relies on just like narrative devices and like tricks like that, I feel. I don't know. It reminded me of, I don't know. It's just really lame.
Like you said, there's no real point to Cersei being a professor. It's not like in, Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's funny, you open with this, adventurer, running through the jungle, and then all of a sudden he's just in a classroom. It's about that juxtaposition. Like, he's usually just an everyday teacher, and then, until he's not running around.
Yeah, it's just like that's what she was doing. And I don't know how you fix that. I don't think the movie would have benefited from like her saving her class in one scene or something. I think that would have been thrown in.
Or maybe
reminds me like of the Tomorrow War. Like at the end of the day, he goes back to his high school class, and there's like one kid there like solves like where the aliens are buried, like their UFO from. It's
Really?
like yeah, like some kid in high school figures it out. Like yeah, that's stupid. Like don't throw that in. But I mean, there needs to be a reason for her to be a teacher. Otherwise, don't even throw it in.
Or at least it doesn't have to be like this epic thing. It's just like something that ties in.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just very weird. And yeah, like the scene with her and her class was terrible.
I don't even remember what she was taught. I remember she like
the whole
saved
point of
a
the scene was
student.
like she was flirting with Kit Harington. That was like the whole point of the scene. Yeah, it's an hour and 30 minutes in the movie. They establish Fastos and his family, and then they show up again at the end. Thena has a scene with his son. It's like, yeah, this is really necessary. We need to see this.
And they were eating
Fucking
pizza.
phone. Yeah, or she like, yeah, they were eating pizza, and then like she uses her spear to grab an apple for the kid.
Do they need
So-
food? I don't even know how that
Yeah,
works.
why do they need to eat? Aren't they like clockwork guys?
They must have
just
been
made of
fucking.
clockwork or robots. Like
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. They are robots,
Yeah,
or
they're
whatever,
not-
whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, they're not- yeah.
cyborgs.
Yeah, yeah. Why do they need to eat? Just for fun?
Just for they must have been thrilled when
it's like
pizza
one-
was invented.
Yeah,
Like,
they're
holy
just like-
shit, this is delicious.
Yeah, they saw the invention of pizza. Yeah,
Yeah.
They saw all these things. Yeah.
Before we had to eat gruel.
Jesus, it just doesn't make any sense. It's too far out there. It's like they don't even care. They're just like, don't even think about it. Like, fuck you for thinking about it.
And I think you can have fun with the concept, like even like
The movie isn't fun.
Right,
It's
exactly.
miserable. It's miserably boring and dark.
Chloe Zhao cites Man of Steel as an influence. I don't think that's the best example to follow because that's another dreary,
Yeah.
joyless superhero movie.
Yeah, they got mixed reviews.
Right. And how would you compare it to other superhero movies of late?
Dude, it's one of the worst I've seen. Not just recently, it's just like
In
a
general.
long time. Yeah, like it's so dry is good for, but also confusing. It's just like a baffling film. You're like, why did they make these decisions about so many things in the film? It's just like not consistent with anything the Marvel has done before. I wonder what like Kevin Feige is thinking. I think Feige or Feige.
Well, I think at this point
yeah.
that, you know, he's,
I wonder what he's
with
thinking.
with good reason, he might feel confident in trying different things. Like,
Yeah.
you know, obviously, like Internals, this wouldn't have been like the third MCU movie. That wouldn't have made sense. You want to do Iron Man,
Yeah.
and the first that one did really well, so they did the second one, and then Thor, and so forth.
Yeah. It's like a response to people who, like, want Marvel to be more artsy, but I'm like, why is that necessary if it's gonna be something like this? It's just like so pointless. Yeah. Again, it's like going to McDonald's for fucking like a lobster.
It doesn't need to be something that's not. You know, we have. If you want a more audio film, just go see Licorice
Yeah.
Pizza, The French Dispatch. You know,
Yeah.
you know, those have their place.
I hate food analogies with film usually, but I feel like that's a good one. All these characters suck. Like the only reason you would like any of these characters is because you just like the actor or like the look of them. Like you think they're pretty or hot or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I like Richard Madden. Okay, but there's nothing fucking to him in the movie.
Not really. He's just
He sucks.
duplicitous. I
He
guess
sucks in the movie. He has nothing going on. He has no like feelings.
Oh, he is. He felt pretty hot when he was flying into the sun.
yeah.
He's looking better after he was.
The
stabbed.
emotions are so restrained in the movie. Like people cry and are upset, but yeah, they keep it like bottled up for some reason. Like
Sure, and it's not a Kubrick movie. It's a
Yeah,
Marvel movie.
yeah.
You got to show.
you know, like
a little
Icarus
more
is like crying, like he
emotion.
sheds like a tear, or like Cersei sheds a tear. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what am I watching? Like, Captain Marvel was big because Wonder Woman was big, and because like female superheroes were big at the time, and that's why she rose to make a film. Like Marvel, that was like response. That was Marvel's response to Wonder Woman. That's why
Sure.
they made the movie. It's not because Captain Marvel's a fucking interesting character, because she's not. And the reason they made this movie is because it's like we can have a diverse cast of people. We have gay black man, Asian woman, white guys, and
Yeah.
deaf woman. Like all these things are great, but it's like let's just throw it in for marketing and no other reason. Like these don't develop any of them.
Yeah, diversity is
Yeah.
admirable, but you still want to make good
But it's
movies.
Disney. It's
Yeah.
Disney. They fucking throw this shit in all the time. And like Finding Dory, they threw in a lesbian in the background.
What
And
was
and
it? Was it though? I feel like people are reaching there. But yeah, it's kind of like
Yeah.
you know, it feels very surface like, you know, which is a big. We don't have to get into it too much, but that it has been an issue in the news recently for Disney. How, you know, in terms of
It's surface level.
representation. Yeah.
Oh yeah, like in terms of management or like who's making the movies. Yeah. Yeah, like Chloe Zhao, she's making the movie, like, but she's not good for making this kind of film. Like, it's
It's not
purely
her bag.
It's like a marketing decision or something. She just won the Oscar. They probably, I don't know, maybe had some influence in that. They are Disney.
ABC. Yeah.
Yeah, they probably had some influence in that. And then she went on to direct The Eternals and like Oscar-winning director. You know, just because you're that Oscar-winning director doesn't mean like you can make a film like this. It's like a very different bag. I think of, like X-Men Origins Wolverine, like the director of that is like, I think he was like an art, like he made like good indie films at least that like people liked. I'll probably have to look it up quick, but yeah, he went on to make Origins, which is fucking obviously it's terrible, that movie. That's worse than this maybe.
Yeah, it
that's
probably is.
one of the worst superhero movies ever.
And that's not even
the-
exclusive. Yeah, it is.
It's the worst X-Men. It's the worst X-Men movie. Yeah, but it just
Well,
shows like
yeah.
he couldn't. I don't know. Maybe you can't like negotiate with the studio in the same way. If you're like an indie filmmaker up and coming, like you don't have that power to tell the studio what to do. Kind of like Nolan did, because he had some success already in
With
Hollywood.
Memento,
And the
yeah.
same with Zack Snyder.
Yeah, they were known.
Snyder was known. He had hits.
Dawn of the Dead. And
He had
300.
Chris Nolan vouching for him. I remember that because Chris Nolan produced Man of Steel. So he probably helped him and believed in his vision. Yeah, like that. Yeah, but sometimes the vision isn't good, or people don't respond to it. You know.
Yeah, it can get to, maybe it's not the best comparison, but like, you know, Joel Schumacher, he made, you know, movies that I liked beyond, and then, you know, he did those Batman movies, which, you know, were kind of all over. You know, he definitely had a vision, that's for sure, but it, you know, it didn't really fit with Batman. It was very, you know, incongruous.
That's true. That's a good example. Yeah, like
Yeah.
it doesn't fit with the image that has been established so far. I think that's a huge problem with this movie, and it shows me like why the MCU why they play it so safe sometimes, or like make certain decisions anyway. That have avoided like this kind of thing. Like I've always said, the love plots are not that interesting in these kinds of movies. That's why they usually don't focus on them. Not that I hate love or like sex or sexual relationships in movies. Like I don't care. Like, but obviously, like in a superhero movie, usually just because the writing, it's like it's not that interesting. Like Rachel McAdams
I was thinking
in
that,
Doctor
yeah.
Strange.
Yeah, that
like,
was a bit perfunctory.
Is she really like the most interesting part of that film, or is it the special effects? It's
Right.
like, yeah, it's like the action. And
It
all
didn't
that.
even need-
Benedict Cumberbatch. And,
Sure, yeah.
even Pepper Potts, she's probably the best example of that kind of character.
she was a bit more prominent, you know.
Gwyneth Paltrow. Yeah, like they're very hit or miss when they do introduce those kind of characters. Jane, I think of in Thor, like that didn't really work. It didn't seem like Natalie Portman wanted to play that kind of character.
I think she's coming back though. Isn't
Yeah,
she?
but she's gonna be female Thor. She's gonna have a little more to do, I think.
Yeah,
That's
some
why
of
she
those-
agreed to come back.
Some of those roles can be pretty thankless, particularly with like Rachel McAdams. Or I'm sure there are probably other examples that I'm like, not thinking of.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Even like I
They're
think
just
like
not that interesting. So they try to like focus on the love angle here, and it doesn't really work.
I like Zoe Saldana as Gamora. I think that I don't remember
That's
that
a good
element
example.
super well, but it was.
And that is
a little
really
bit-
they're not. It's not like they're in a relationship. It's a relationship of sorts, but she like fucking hates him. Like she thinks
resents him.
Yeah, she thinks Star Lord or Peter Quill is annoying.
Yeah,
Which is funny.
overbearing.
Yeah. An idiot. He thinks he's an annoying idiot, right?
Yeah, and this actually did have a sex scene, technically. I
Yeah.
think it's the first. I mean, the
It's
first
really
Iron
lame
Man
sex.
had like a makeout
It's
scene.
not like
but-
hardcore, like
No.
fucking.
No, it's not.
It's not like Boardwalk Empire, but it's
Clockwork
it's like
Orange.
so unnecessary. Yeah, again, like I don't care. It's just like why is that in this kind of movie? Because it's usually the weakest elements.
I think that was one of one of the complaints about. I think Soderbergh just said like, "There's no sex in these fucking," and Pedro Almodovar.
Yeah, it's like why are you catering to Soderbergh? Like he's not the audience for this.
No,
and that's what I
no.
mean. Like okay, Scorsese's gonna say like these aren't like art films or what. Like okay, you're not making the movie for Martin Scorsese. He's not gonna. Watch
and
it.
that's just his opinion.
Yeah.
I think people hop
To
on
some
that way
extent,
too
he has
much.
a good point.
Yeah,
Yeah, like these are kind of popcorn entertainment. They're very light. Like, there's nothing wrong with wanting to watch that. Like,
No.
I like going to theme parks.
As long as they're done well.
As long
like,
as there's
I-
also films, and there's a market for films that are challenging, and like Scorsese's films. Like, I love Scorsese's films, or like David Lynch films. I love stuff like that.
Yeah, you
So,
want a little
yeah.
variety.
Yeah, it's hard to like mix the two.
Yeah, and I
in a
think
way.
some of
Not that
the
you can. I think Nolan does that very well, but it's very rare and difficult. And it's very difficult to also make an ensemble film with 10 characters. Avengers was very hard to make, and that had 7 characters. And I thought they did that really well, that first one.
yeah, and it didn't feel quite as convoluted.
Yeah, maybe 8 characters. Yeah.
You could do a movie well that has multiple characters, like our Scenes of
Magnolia.
Class. Yeah, 12 Angry Men, whatever. Like they don't have to be like all like like everything about them, but they have to be distinctive enough so you know who's who. You're not gonna get people confused.
They're not so like marketing demographics. Like, okay, we have the Asian lady, we have this, we got to check every box here, and it's so like lame. Like, I hate that kind of shit. It's so distracting to see it in a film. Like, just make a fucking good movie about like compelling characters. Like, I don't really give a shit about like the race of them,
And
or like if one of them's gay and he has a scene where he's gay. Like, I don't really care. That's fucking dumb, I think.
Yeah, and they again, it's very. It just moves around a lot.
Yeah.
and it's not like not a very cohesive
Yeah,
way.
like, is that why the ratings are so high? Because people are like, oh, I don't want to seem like I don't like scenes of like gay people.
No, I don't think that's it. I mean,
Like, it's got a 3.2 on like Letterboxd. Or
I
that's
don't-
fucking
I don't
stupid.
understand that.
Like, give
at
me a
all.
fucking break, people.
Especially like
This
the Incredible
shits.
Hulk is a 2.5.
It sucks.
The Incredible. Not that that's like. I think that's a great movie, but like I would rather watch that than this.
Yeah. Yeah, like, you're not homophobic for not liking a shitty movie with like
no.
pointless scenes in it.
This is the first rotten movie. I don't. Have any other ones gotten rotten?
No.
scores? I don't think so.
No.
Even some of the less loved ones, I think at least had better
yeah.
ratings than this.
Yeah.
Like Iron Man 2 or Thor 2. I think those are like usually considered the weakest. Captain Marvel, stuff like
Fucking-
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is not
crappy.
good.
I loved the Hiroshima scene.
There's a little thrown in.
Yeah, yeah. I loved how dark the film was, and how it was really miserable and boring, and has no scenes where people clap. Like, imagine the audience that like would usually clap in this kind of thing, just like watching the sex scene.
that's usually some of the best parts of superhero, but like just like Spider-Man, he realizes he can shoot web and climb buildings, but like you said, like you don't even remember who's who. I mean, you get like little snippets of people using their powers, but it's not. There's
the very
there's not
start of the
much
movie,
fun.
you see them all get made, I guess, or like come into existence.
Right there.
And they're just like, okay, I'm a superhero. I have my powers, and then like that's it. There's no discovery. There's no journey of self-discovery or anything. There's no arc.
Not really.
No.
I mean, I guess you can argue the Icarus character like
He probably had the most arc.
flies into this. I don't even quite understand. I guess because it was like, is it like Godfather 2? Like Frank Pentangeli, he realized he betrayed everybody, so he had to kill himself or whatever. Cut his
It's
wrist
just
in the
comparing it to
bathtub.
better movies. It's like, oh, maybe it's like experimental and you just don't understand it. It's like, yeah, please. It's crap.
Yeah, it's not the Tree of Life.
No. Tree of Life has better shots in it than this.
Yeah, and again, she was. I think they were going for like a Terrence Malick type. So the way like the camera panned around, but he doesn't make superhero movies. So I mean, not that like again, you can experiment a bit, but the end result isn't that satisfying.
This was such an unchallenging film to make for like everyone involved. Like I think like the original Star Wars, like the guys are in the desert or something, or even like really great performances, like in Possession, like the woman like flailing, whatever, screaming, like actors who dedicate themselves, like do crazy shit for their film, like that dedication. And everyone in this film does nothing. Like they all just walk around in like suits, and they don't act, like they hardly acting. Like really like the most sometimes they're crying, sometimes it's like a little emotional, but it's mostly just like dialogue that's like exposition, right? And it's really lame.
Yeah, even like the scene later in the movie with Richard Madden and Salma Hayek. It's important. It's meant to be an important scene. I was just like spacing out because there's so much blah blah blah.
Yeah, a lot of blah blah because every scene is too long.
And then like he pushes her off a cliff or whatever the fuck. I don't.
Yeah, pushes her off a cliff
because he wants to kill humanity.
Because he's following the orders of Arishem.
The big red thing. Cliff of the big red dog.
The big Arishem, the big red Galactus.
One thing I was thinking, I preferred the first Wonder Woman to this. How do you think this compares to Wonder Woman 1984?
They're about the same.
They're I think this one's probably more boring. I think but you could argue that Wonder Woman 1984 is a worse movie.
They're both bad. I would say, Wonder Woman 1984 might be worse. Just because of some of the special effects moments.
Yeah.
In Wonder Woman 84 were really terrible. And like obviously the writing, like the reveal of Steve Trevor to be like some other guy.
That was one of the worst parts of the movie.
That's awful.
Yeah.
That was terrible. And but like this movie has moments like that too.
It does, but probably not as many.
Not as many.
I think that one's a little easier to
I feel like this
apart.
film looks like a little less cheap.
Yeah.
With some of the visual effects. And like I hate the visual effects, and I guess I don't hate like the look of them. It's more like some of the design choices, like how you mentioned that it's the exact same aliens as Edge of Tomorrow or Live Die Repeat, and it's like the same like kind of shit you've seen before. Like it does nothing new.
Venom Let There Be Carnage is better, if only because it's an hour shorter.
It is better.
It's dumb.
That movie's just stupid. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like the Venom movies are just stupid. Like the scenes are quick. Like they're a minute, 2 minutes long. It's just like dumb jokes. Yeah, like okay, they're clearly not making this for Oscars or anything.
No,
like, this is not an Oscar-winning filmmaker's film. It's Venom, Let There Be Carnage, right? Like, and then this is it's trying to be something more, and it isn't. It's really lame.
Yeah, and I want to clarify. I do look forward to see what Chloe Zhao does next, even though I didn't like that. I did like Nomadland. I'd rather just see her do another drama like this, not not superhero movies, because this didn't go that well.
Superhero movies,
yeah.
She did not nail it this time. It's also is it her second film she made?
I am not sure.
It's pretty challenging.
Yeah, and you mentioned like how you didn't like David Lynch's Dune. Like that's like blockbusters were not his. That's not what he does well.
Yeah, he does like the Elephant Man.
Yeah, Blue Velvet.
Yeah, that's like his avenue to make stories. Yeah, But yeah, I don't know what he was. I don't know what this movie was trying to do.
You're asking her to let you erase who she is.
Athena needs her memories erased, but she won't do it. And Barry Keoghan's like, she's gonna erase who she is. You're making her erase who she is.
Yeah, and then like they had the CG baby costume. They couldn't just put him in a fucking costume.
Oh yeah, it looked fucking terrible.
Maybe the Blade movie will be better than this.
No, I have no faith in that.
But you just
they're gonna make a Blade movie. It's not gonna be rated R. It's gonna suck.
Well, at least like you already said, like this is your least favorite MCU movie.
It could get worse.
You think so?
A Blade movie with no blood would probably be worse. But at least Blade would be the main character. You'd hope anyway.
Yeah, but
remember in Black Panther when he dies and he's not in the movie for 20 minutes?
I do remember. Yeah,
that was stupid.
That's still a better movie. Than
It is
Eternal.
a better movie, but
more
it's,
compelling villain. At least.
Kingo is the Bollywood guy.
Yeah.
Whatever. He sucked. Nothing. I didn't mention he leaves at the end of the movie, right? He doesn't want to fight.
Yeah, that was just strange. If you could just like walk out of the movie, then like what are the stakes aren't even clear.
And then like that totally deflates like the comedic relief. That guy with the camcorder.
Yeah.
Because he's just like, I really liked working with you guys or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm doing the voice. He really liked working with you guys or whatever. And then he just leaves. It's like, okay, so you had the comedic relief, but he's just like ends on like kind of a sour note of him just leaving. Kind of got off the deviants, but they have one of the deviants. I don't know what they want. I guess they just want to kill people.
They like to
suck
eat
up their power. But like they eat the deviants, and I guess when they eat Salma Hayek, one of the deviants extends his things and makes all the other deviants have wings. And then the second time he eats, I guess Gilgamesh or whatever, he puts the thing in his neck. And Gilgamesh dies, and the thing becomes like more sentient. Like it becomes like a smart deviant. And he's like, oh, I understand now.
That's the first thing he says.
And it's played by the guy
Bill Skarsgård.
Yeah, plays it. And it's another CGI villain, and he's barely developed, and he sucks. He's gone for the movie for an hour. He pops up again. He washes up on shore, like for no reason, like Euron Greyjoy in Game of Thrones, another Game of Thrones comparison. And yeah, it just sucks. It's just a terrible villain. And Athena has a weird scene with him that's in the trailer. It's like grabbing her all with tentacles. Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, what is this in for like perverts or something?
For deviants?
Yeah. And then again, it's undercut by more gruesome violence of Athena fucking cutting his head into 6 different pieces. and then he dies.
Yeah, I don't know.
And that's like the resolution of the character. I'm like, wow.
It felt so thrown in.
That's really great compared to Spider-Man where he like saved everybody.
Right, and there are actual like consequences for he can't just leave, his aunt gets killed because of what it was a decision he made.
It's like a better story.
Yeah, it's a much better story, more compelling.
The people who made
villains.
this movie, they just didn't give a fuck. They didn't give a fuck about
It's not
the
really
story.
clear what the stakes are. I guess they're saving the world.
They did not care.
And the end battle is extremely underwhelming.
Yeah. It's on a beach, yeah.
Yeah, fucking lame.
Yeah, and then like the Arishem creatures coming out of the ground, and then Cersei freezes him. That was Cersei's power. She could turn things into stone or something.
Whatever. Fucking
That was her
sucks.
power. That was it.
I couldn't even remember.
Yeah. Kingo shoots like lightning bolts out of his hand or something. Like lightning bolts shoot from my fingertips. That's what he does.
Bang bang.
Sprite is her powers. She's annoying. Yeah, I said. Yeah, Harry Styles being the brother of Thanos. So, I hated that part of the film.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like every unlikable idiot you can throw in.
I don't dislike him. I just thought it was weird.
Yeah, I guess I'm really negative on it.
But yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I should be. I mean, I'm bored to tears by it. I can't believe I paid to see this. This is entertainment.
Making me cry. It's so boring.
Yeah, this is entertainment.
Are you not entertained?
Yeah, like I'm not.
I didn't think so.
What are you guys like? What are you guys doing there in Hollywood, making crap like this?
It must have cost a fortune.
Namagadibe, bitte.
I want to do a lot more.
The best things in life are free.
The Many Saints of Newark is the next movie we're going to review, and it's a prequel to The Sopranos, and it's been out for a few months, but wanted to talk about it. I gave it at first I gave it a good review.
Yep.
Because I don't know why. I don't think a lot of good movies were coming out at the time. I think it was like before Oscar season.
I saw it day after I saw Titan, which was very good.
Yeah, I hadn't seen Titanic at that point. Like, none of the big Oscar movies were out yet. So I'm like, oh, yeah, this is pretty good. But then I didn't realize, like, the great movies that were going to come out after.
Right.
It kind of, like, makes it look like nothing. Like, West Side Story, Licorice Pizza,
French Dispatch.
Yeah, like, all these great movies. So, like, compared to those, Many Saints of Newark didn't even get nominated for anything.
I got 3 nominations total.
For Oscars?
No, just in general.
Yeah, just in general. Yeah, not from Oscars. Yeah, I got nothing from...
Not that the Oscars are... I mean, French Dispatch didn't get any Oscar nominations.
Yeah.
But this isn't, like...
That's clearly a
lot
snub,
of blood.
though.
Yeah, right.
Many Saints of Newark, no one's vouching for it.
Not too many people, I would think.
Yeah, because it's not a great movie, really.
No.
It's not very good. There's a lot of... I have a lot of criticisms with it. It's got a lot of flaws. And it's very lame, and it's basically just a series of scenes where nothing really happens in the movie.
Yeah, it feels a bit inconsequential as a prequel.
And it's just catering to nostalgia and like fan bait kind of crap, which is why I liked the movie at first. It appealed to the most caveman parts of my brain that like seeing Paulie and seeing Silvio.
The beginning, it opens with a narration by Christopher from Beyond the Grave, as Michael Imperioli came back to do the voice.
The stuff with Christopher was kind of bad.
You didn't like that device?
No, I didn't. It didn't really add anything to the movie. And like the whole thing, that was in the trailer too. Like young Tony and Christopher as a baby, and there's like this whole kind of paranormal element going on,
which was present in the show too.
Yeah. But it's not. It doesn't add anything to this movie ultimately.
No.
It's just thrown in, and it's not. It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't lead to anything in the movie. It's just like, okay, here's a scene. And that's what I mean. It's just like it's a bunch of scenes. Like it's a good scene on its own. It just doesn't really matter in the context of like a grander thing. Like, okay, scene. Like it doesn't escalate. It doesn't build really. I didn't care about what was happening.
Yeah, it's not really clear like what the stakes are, because again that's like a hurdle for a lot of prequels. You know where the story's going. You know it ends with Dickie being killed. I mean, like obviously before that we didn't know Junior was responsible. I mean that was something new.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
I'm just saying that's something we knew before.
Yeah, it's over a petty little thing.
Yeah, him laughing at him falling down the stairs.
Down the stairs like that. Yeah, which is like okay, that's fine. I guess it's fitting with the show. But yeah, it's not very dramatically satisfying.
The scene itself isn't particularly like dramatic. Maybe it's not meant to be, but I don't know. It's just like CGI blood, CG blood.
Yeah.
And I kind of like the idea, like at the beginning with like the device, like you hear like all these voices around. They show the cemetery, but like, like the device with Christopher, they don't use it that much. It kind of just like comes and goes. You kind of like forget it's there. It's not like he's narrating the whole time. I maybe I don't know if it's like it might be like a reference to like Sunset Boulevard, how it opens with him and dead in the pool. I don't know if that was like intentional. But yeah, I don't know.
It doesn't really connect well.
Sure.
The movie really would have helped if it was just like, if it looked better. If it had like a really distinct visual style that you wanted to view.
Yeah.
And it had like really good pacing and it was really funny. I think that would have helped a lot with this movie.
Yeah, I've heard people say like they would have preferred it as a mini-series, which may have worked better.
Sure. It just needed to work on its own. It needed to be funnier and like have shocking moments. Like there was nothing shocking in this movie.
Not particularly. I mean, the show is like, it also very weird. Like there's a whole episode. One of the big storylines early on is Tony's good friend Pussy is a rat. He doesn't just, and how he finds out, it's not like he just like catches him with a wire on. He has a bunch of dreams like about him connecting the dots, which is very specific to the Sopranos. Like he pictures his friend as a talking fish, just stuff like that. There were like little like he's in a coma. He imagines
the dreamlike elements here was like some of the Ray Liotta stuff with him in the prison. His twin brother in the prison.
Right.
Yeah, which again, that didn't really work. Like,
I mean, Ray Liotta is good in the movie.
It's experimental for the sake of it. It doesn't really go anywhere. Yeah, like I was trying to get more out of that stuff specifically, but I'm like, yeah, it doesn't really matter if it's a dream or not. Like,
Yeah.
who cares? Like, is that supposed to be the therapy angle, or him trying to confront his guilt by talking to this like other version of his dad played by Ray Liotta? Like,
His brother.
it's really convoluted. Doesn't
Yeah.
add anything to the movie either.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really clear like what his. I guess
Yeah.
he's just a fuck up.
He's a fuck up. He ruins everything around him, like because he kills his father and he kills his wife.
mistress. Yeah.
Yeah. So mistress. So they're like, stay away from Tony. That's what other Ray Liotta tells him. Like, stay away from Tony. And then he chooses to listen to him for some reason, which is why I think that's a dream, because maybe that's like his inner thoughts. That's like the only way it would make sense. Like, because why would he care what Ray Liotta tells him to do?
Yeah, it's I guess because it's his uncle.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought the movie was a mess.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm trying to think of like other like good examples or like better examples, maybe like TV to movie adaptation, because there are a few. Like I love the Blues Brothers and Wayne's World.
I've never seen those.
Well, you've seen The Untouchables,
Yeah, that was a show.
South Park, Big and Long and
Yeah.
Uncut. I was just trying to think of some, because I feel like before like The Sopranos, there was sort of like a feeling that like movies were inherently better than TV, but like obviously we've seen in the past like 20 years, partly thanks to Sopranos and The Wire, like TV can be just as good if not better with all the shows, because you have the advantage, or like Breaking Bad, you have the advantage of telling a story over a long period. It's not just 2 hours. You can have 60 or 70 hours to like really develop these characters and inhabit a certain
I
world.
think maybe David Chase works better in television in that way. You really can flesh out those characters over 60 hours and like not 2.
Yeah. And there's such a specificity with that show too. Even like the ancillary characters are all like very memorable and distinct. It feels like it's sort of like with Mad Men too. Like it feels like a world of its own. It doesn't just feel like a TV show. It feels like very lived in. Like all these characters are very distinctive in their own way. I don't know. I was thinking either before I had a 6 out of 10, I might make it a 5 out of 10. That's about that. Not terrible. I don't like hate it by any means. It's
No, I
just
don't
like
hate it either.
disappointing.
It may be better than the Eternals, just virtue that it's shorter.
It is probably better.
Just because it's shorter.
It is shorter. It's it's not.
And there's some scenes I like. There's some scenes I didn't like, but
I liked the scene where Tony's dad's going off to jail, and the mother's doing the crocodile tears.
Yeah, that was genuinely
fun.
funny.
Yeah, and again, like specific to those characters, given what we know about them. That's what, again, like the show is always like very specific with everything, like the attention to detail and all that stuff. Nothing was half-assed.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I would give it a 5 or a 6 out of 10 as well at this point. Yeah, when I first saw it, I'm like, yeah, 8 out of 10 is great. But it was like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And it was like, I didn't see all these other movies.
That can change how you feel.
French Dispatch is much better, yeah. Or some,
sure.
Definitely something like that. A little more artful, unique. The movie, it needed visual style, needed to be visually interesting, needed to be funny, needed to have good pacing, needed to be more focused on Michael Gandolfini and like all these other things. Like there's some good actors in this movie and it's good parts. It's like the director should have just like, all right, fuck the script. What about like these like good actors? Like give them more scenes. Like let's just make more scenes with them, write more scenes with them, because this is like the interesting part of the movie. The interesting part's not like this bullshit with like the Italian wife or like
No, yeah.
like Harold. Like none of that's interesting.
Those scenes are slow.
They're just obligatory.
And and also it is, to be fair, it is hard to do like a really great gangster movie. There have been so many classics of the genre, and you want to just try to do something. What I really liked about The Irishman, it kind of found like a bit of a new spin with with the last 45 minutes. It's about like outliving seeing how hollow the lifestyle is. You don't really get a sense. It does. I don't think the Many Streets of Newark is groundbreaking in that same way.
That's true. Yeah, Irishman's great. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just wondering, like, if you've never seen the show, I don't think the movie would really make sense to
Well,
you.
Mike saw the Mike hasn't seen the show and he watched the movie with me. He didn't really like the movie, so I'll go with Mike's like.
Okay.
feeling.
I was just curious because, like, it feels like it relies heavily on your knowledge of the show.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Mike got nothing out of it. I'm like, that's totally fair.
All right.
It's completely fair. It was like a commentary on those kinds of movies.
Yeah.
And on like the sexual element. There's like all this sexual stuff going on in the movie. That's what I mean. It's like more of an art film. Like you don't get anything like that in Friday the 13th. There's no self-awareness.
That's
like,
schlock.
it's crap. Yeah, so it's like trash. Yeah, movies like that. This one it's clearly like self-aware. It's like BS.
Yeah.
About like there's just like the dialogue and all that. Like the kind of slutty character, she has dialogue like, "Oh my pussy" or whatever.
The
like
porn star.
Yeah, exactly.
Brittany Snow was also in The Pacifier with Vin Diesel.
Yeah, that was a long time
different
ago.
kind of movie.
Yeah, she has all kinds of dialogue like that. But it's like it's really in keeping with like what this movie's trying to do here. It's perfect. It all fits, I thought, really well.
How would you compare it to some of the other horror films in A24's lineup? Because there are several great ones.
Yeah, just because of the nature that it's like a trashier thing, I think it doesn't like resonate as much with me emotionally.
Sure, compared
as
to
something like Hereditary or Midsommar. Like those are great. Yeah.
or a Green Room. That's one
Green
of my
Room.
favorites.
Yeah, we were talking about horror movies.
The Witch. They've had several really great ones.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the better ones. Like I really like this movie. And yeah, it's anyone who's like criticizing the dialogue or whatever is like completely missing the point of the film.
Sure.
It's
And-
supposed to be very campy. I think if it wasn't, it would be missing what those movies were. And I feel like there's just enough of that. It's like a perfect balance.
It has a grindhouse vibe.
Yeah, a
to
vibe,
it.
but
Yeah.
not like it doesn't just like make excuses for being bad either. Like there's really great like effects and lighting, and I haven't seen that new Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, but I'm imagining this is much better than something like that.
I would think so.
Yeah. And also the dedication of all the actors, like just to like really make a trashy movie like this.
Yeah.
It's more self-aware. Like they understand like it's in service of something. And, yeah.
Yeah.
It has disturbing parts, and no,
good
it's not
scares.
just reliant on gore. Yeah. Some jump scares didn't work for me.
Yeah, there aren't too many, but there were. I
Yeah.
think there were only like two, maybe.
That's what the audience for this kind of thing is expecting.
There were a few memorable, 70s songs they used, like "Don't Fear the Reaper" and "In the Summertime."
It had a good soundtrack.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And,
I feel like they actually put money into that, so it didn't feel so like a trashy horror movie either. Yeah.
sure. And Mia
it had a
Goth
good
in
soundtrack.
particular is very good.
Yeah, everyone I thought was
I like the
good.
characters.
I thought all the characters were interesting. Yeah, the director character was interesting.
Yeah,
I like the producer. The
Yeah,
producer was like
producer.
genuinely funny. Yeah,
Yeah, he had some funny lines.
running out in his underwear or whatever.
And I guess this was filmed in New Zealand, which you wouldn't necessarily tell just by watching it.
Yeah, it feels like wherever they're supposed to be.
Yeah, and like certain. I like that there were like certain themes, like I think some work better for you than others. There's like a little like through line with like what's playing on the television, and yeah, I like that. There's definitely some thought put into it. It
Sure.
didn't feel like total like just mayhem or there's a bit of a story to it.
Yeah. I liked it. I don't know. Had some good kills.
Yeah.
Some of them were quick.
Some were. It's funny. Some were more graphic than others.
Yeah.
It was kind of a blend.
Yeah.
That was something I noticed. I don't know if that was deliberate, but yeah, there's definitely some gore and other parts I kind of shy away.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I liked it just fine. I really don't have much to say about it aside from I liked it.
And if you like horror, I think this is definitely worth seeing.
Yeah. If you like that genre, I think you'll really like it. Yeah, it's definitely good. Yeah, it's better than most of those kinds of movies, honestly.
Yeah, there's so many of them nowadays. Yeah, they're cheap to make.
At least it's self-aware and it's like gratuitous, like violence and nudity. Like it actually fits the story well.
Gives the people what they want.
Yeah, it gives the people what they want. Yeah. So I don't know. I would give it. I was thinking a 6 out of 10 at first, but I bumped it up to a 7 out of 10. I think it's a 7 out of 10.
Yeah,
X.
worth seeing. 7 out of 10.
I
Yeah.
liked it fine. It's like a cut above like most bad horror movies, I think.
What's a particularly bad one that was?
I don't know.
You saw that.
I like that
Bye-Bye
it's
Man.
released in a theater, and yeah, like the whole like porno angle. You see like the porno in the movie, and it's like terrible acting.
Right. Yeah.
Like I love that. That's a little more interesting. And they didn't do it too much. There's like about halfway through the movie, they just stop and move on to like other things. Thanks
Yeah.
for watching.
So long.
Thanks for sitting through all that. Okay, bye. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Okay.
There we go.
Cool.
That was